Very happy to be back.
Your Asia tour is finally over.
I know. Finally, I miss you all.
All righty. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right. I don't see any new faces yet, so welcome. Newcomers introduce themselves. I don't see any newcomers today, so I think we'll skip that part. Just letting you all know that the meeting is recorded, so accordingly. All right. So a couple of announcements. First one. So there's a I don't know who here is running things on main right now, but there is a huge change to tools coming in. I guess this probably just goes under release announcements. You know what? Let's start with the good stuff. Len, you can kick it off with the days. We'll talk
All
about the
right.
next
I
thing.
just want to thank you, everybody. I know I cried for help. I think it was on last Thursday. And I actually got private pins from folks stepped in and helped start the repo. And some of you even reach out to folks in your network to start the repo. I believe one of you even reach out to your students to start the repo. So I don't have the curve. I think, Aiton, maybe you have the curve.
I do.
I remember seeing the curve was just jumping straight up. So thank you. We couldn't have done it without your help. So big shout out to everybody who stepped in and started repo, because for the longest time, we've been watching out the repo to hit 1,000 stars. And I believe last Friday was 100 days of K-Agent. So I was like, it would be so wonderful to hit not only 100 contributors, but also 1,000 star on that day. So thank you, everybody. Just so everybody knows, I was on vacation on Friday. I meant to publish the blog on kagent.dev. So I'm working on that as fast as I can, and it will be out today. We did publish on solo.io because our marketing team knows how to massage that website, but they don't know how to, submit the PR for kagent.dev, which I'm working on it today. I will get it out and let you all know. I try to highlight as many members as I recognize on LinkedIn. But do let me know if I miss somebody major or something major happened. I miss out in the recap blog of celebrating 100 days. Do reach out to me. I'd happy to update to include you or somebody you know, because this is a community project. So we want to make sure a significant work or contribution or representative of K-Agent are highlighted in the blog. So thank you all, everybody.
Woo. Yeah. Thanks all. I agree with everything Lynn said. Thank you all. Like we wouldn't have gotten here without you. And I don't know, we just added the contributor list as well as the star history to the bottom of the README. So that's awesome. Just a constant reminder. So super cool. Okay, cool. So yeah, thank you everyone. So let's get into release updates. So we're going to be cutting an 040 soon. This is going to be a pretty big release. There have been a lot of changes, a lot of big changes that have gone in. And there's some API changes as well as some functional changes. So first off, huge tool changes. So as everyone or may know that beforehand, all the tools were running directly in the agent framework. Now they have been basically ripped out and put in their own standalone server, all written in Go from the ground up. Huge shout out to Dimitro for his work on that. And so that's going to allow us to do a whole number of things that we've talked about before, such as distribute it more widely, add much more security, find great access control, etc. So that's a huge, huge, huge win. Alongside that, we've removed the concept of built-in tools. So that was an API concept that referred to these specifically. So now you'll just refer to our built-in server. So slightly different UX, same concept. All this stuff will be in the release notes. The other thing that a big change, not a big change, but a breaking change technically, our A2A support has been upgraded to 0.2.0. That just merged into main as well as streaming support for A2A. So that's awesome. I've been testing it a lot, and it's pretty cool, honestly. It's really, yeah, it's awesome to see how A2A is evolving, and I think we can enable some pretty cool complex use cases with that. So yeah, so that's going to go in, and I'm trying to think of anything else related to that. Yeah, I also fixed, I don't know if anybody noticed this, but a while back, the streaming in the UI got a little slower. And I fixed that. It turns out this maybe was just bothering me. I have no idea. But it was certainly bothering me, and it just turns out that there was like a Go flush, like a Go buffering thing. So anyway, that's fixed. So now the streaming to the UI is super fast. It just streams all the data immediately. So that's great. Yeah, so that's the release updates for 0.4.0. So that will be, as I said, there will be breaking changes in that release, but they will all be documented in the release notes. So yeah, Dimitro.
Yeah, just a couple of words on that release. I also took this latest main and adopted it on our corporate version. And during that, I found a couple of hard-coded things which we didn't handle properly, like in tool server namespace hard-coded, few more things. So we might expect a few minor fixes in the coming, like today, tomorrow, coming days, and before we cut it.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, I'm not planning on cutting it today. I just wanted to let everyone know. Probably, yeah, definitely. I want to do more.
I noticed that, for
hardening.
example, OpenAI secret was kind of added to the tools, and if you run it with any other model type, it was not able to start. So we need to basically rerun the test with Ollama, for example. Yeah, make sure the Ollama is starting properly, because many users are using their own models and stuff like that. Yeah, so if anyone is blocked by that or something, or like struggling to resolve, doesn't know what's happening, just reach me out, I can help you.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, definitely. As you know, I know not everyone works on main like us. So if you find stuff, though, please put it in Discord, create an issue. We're happy to definitely get it resolved ASAP. And obviously we can release quickly after an 0.4.0.2 is, if we find anything, our releases are cheap and fast. So cool. All right. So the thing that I wanted to, yeah, that's all I have planned today. I know that we got more into auth for the UI and strategies around auth in our contributors meeting. And so I just figured we could continue that. I brought a coworker of mine, Yuval, along. So I was gonna talk about that. So Yuval on our side is our chief security guy. Yuval, you're wearing a button down today. Hello, you look nice. If you want to introduce yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the chief architect of IO. I have some, background as it relates to this, and yeah, I'm looking forward to help.
Yeah, so I think just as some context here, we started a Miro board. I unfortunately did not get to update this. I have been so freaking busy, Jesus. With some of the ideas from the community. This is also how we did our designs for the tool server and for the frameworks. So I didn't, like I said, I didn't get a chance to look at it yet, but we began that. And I think in addition, the thing I want to point out, as Marcin said in the chat, he created an initial version where he used the OAuth 2 proxy, which is oh, this is your version, but essentially uses it as a proxy, as a sidecar. At least that was the initial version, and then it basically just routes the request through that for the UI. So I wonder, yeah, basically,
If I can,
if we talk,
if I can just quickly say, yeah, so the very first version that went into a PR would have integrate with K-agent. So we would have manipulation over, user config, enable or disable of proxy, and based on that, it would have a sidecar. We had discussions with the team on Discord, with Dimitro and with Sebastian, and all of us got the impression that it's better not to integrate at this stage. We don't know where we're exactly going to be going, and this standalone deployment is sufficient for anybody that would need it. It simply pops a new deployment, exposes on port 8090, and whoever needs to point their ingress into that can do it. I've tested it with GitHub. It has all the script that can guide the user through setting up the OAuth on GitHub and doing everything. So just as a quickie for those who need it. At the moment, I cannot wait until we get finalizing on the discussions, let's say, at least.
yeah, and super, yeah, thank you. And it's actually interesting, Martin, as a result of your as a result of this work, I was thinking more deeply about how we want to handle this. And I almost wonder if actually this, not exactly this, maybe this, but this sort of thing is actually exactly what we want to do, where we want to have an extension point, right, within our UI or within the UI, right? Like basically us, and you've demonstrated here that not even that much needs to happen. But some sort of extension point to do this outside of the system. But yeah, so I think, yeah, Dimitro.
Yeah, and I think when we started to go deeper in this discussion, we noticed also some additional, let's say, areas which were not yet decided. For example, the user management. So whenever you do integration with external authorization, right, you need to probably get a callback. This callback needs to be validated. So you need to actually have some kind of groups and users. Some users are admins, some users are regular one, some may be read-only. Also, for backward compatibility, we want a couple of other OAuth results. So I think in order to this OAuth feature to move forward, we also need to discuss a little bit on the database, or if we are storing everything as a Kubernetes etcd, resources or not. It's not yet decided, so I think anyone who can contribute to this discussion, there is a Discord thread on that. So please add your comments, add your ideas, so we can basically come with a more, a better solution.
I might spin up, actually, I think that a thread might get too confusing. So I'm going to spin up a channel for this. Because yeah, I think we're probably going to need multiple threads and everything. So I'm going to just put that in the link right now, and I'll link to the conversation that's happened so far, because I think that we're going to end up having a lot of conversation here. So cool.
And then just adding on that side of pluggable architecture. For example, if we are going to plug different authorization providers and stuff like that, probably we want to plug also different storages. So we can have like SQL, NoSQL, like Mongo, Postgres, maybe something else, and cloud, options where you just manage services, things like that. So I think we don't want to make a decision now and then everyone would need to go with, for example, Postgres. We want actually to collect the feedback. If more people will say what is their preferences, what their preferable databases and storages and stuff like that, we can have a better solution.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, right now the way, yeah, no, I think that makes total sense. So Yuval, I don't know, do you want to give like a, I don't know, maybe a little high level primer? I know I'm putting you on the spot of like what are some of this, most important things to think of in like designing a system like this, or when it's in Kubernetes, when you're dealing with Kubernetes resources, are we doing with Kubernetes RBAC? Like what are, just some of the things we want to keep in mind and all sorts of things like that.
Yeah, Auth is definitely, a week project. It's not like something we can it's not like a random feature we can do in a meeting. I can share that, from solo customers, everyone who has, open ID, it's almost like OAuth, but a special click that only our org does, right? So there's always something. And I see people on video smiling, so I guess you empathize with that. So, definitely requires discussion, flexibility, and importantly, the ability for each, user to tweak it to their needs. I definitely like the idea of the external proxy. We need to figure out if we can do something similar to the RBAC. We tried different auth approaches and storages. We used to have API key auth that we stored in Kubernetes CRDs that did not work well. I'm trying to think what else I can add here. Just storing the RBAC is potentially not that bad, but someone will always complain. So the more we can decouple it, I feel like the better. But definitely not storing, users as Kubernetes CRDs, because that'll get out of hand pretty quickly for larger organizations.
Agreed. I definitely think we need a database option, or at least an option, but probably I think it should be a first-class citizen. Right now, so
the agent though needs the database. We need to see if we can have the OAuth proxy have the database, and deliver that information to K Gateway. I know JOTs have that. Kubernetes also has authenticating proxy that gives you the user and group membership, and then you just do the policy.
Yeah. So right now, I mean, Kagent already has a database for the chats.
Yeah.
So we could reuse, but yeah, definitely. Okay.
It's not necessarily about use or not reuse. It's more about that auth is such a broad world that I think the less of it we do, the better. The more we rely on existing solutions that are in wild usage, I think it'll benefit, because each org has its own auth thingy, right? And they're always standard compliant, but almost. There's always something that you need to tweak.
Makes sense. All right, Dimitri, you raise your hand.
Yeah, I just a couple of things on that. Okay, as soon as we in general agreed that we will need database, of course, we'll have a discussion about details, and we will try to support different providers. Also, remember that speaking about database and K-Agent specifically, we also need to have something which is like a vector database on more standard way, because not only this doc2x solution, but maybe more permanent, vector storage which is updated in real time with session information, or what user are typing on sessions and stuff like this. So we will have some kind of additional tables which support user session history, as well as searching in the doc2x kind of format and stuff like that. And yes, and of course, OWLs and groups and users and all of that. Okay.
Yeah.
What you said with the session history, is that related to the
chat history?
Cat.
Yes, but is that related to the auth, or are you just saying that in general because we talked about it?
No, it just related to the database in general, that we need a database soon to handle all of that and basically provide this additional functionality. We're currently holding this decision But if we decide, okay, we go with database, we take one option, for example, we will start to implement all these extra features on top of it.
Does it relate to the memory, persistent memory, or it doesn't? It doesn't touch on that aspect of persistent.
I mean, it
Kind of,
can,
yeah.
right? Like, for example, things like feedback, right? If we want, we can create a system
Exactly.
where we feed the feedback back into the chats, right? And so it
Mhm.
gets
Like
smarter and
partition
smarter
from
over
the
time.
Like successful answers with successful solutions and
Yep.
so on. And yeah,
So you can-
definitely.
We make participate on the context for future. Yeah, that is
Yeah.
great.
Okay,
And you
so
can see many AI storages right now, they evolve into kind of a combination of, let's say, standard database plus AI storage. So you have this memory functionality like long-term, short-term, different type of memories, which you can kind of add and plug ongoing. So we'll probably see features in that areas as well.
Okay, so I think I'm going to do this live because that's fun. So let me see if and please stop me if I'm talking crazy. I agree with all these extension points. I think maybe just to get a little bit thinking about where we want to get with this auth based on what everyone said. So it sounds like, imagine we have why is this so small? Okay, let me zoom in. All right, so we have our user, right? And then we have K-agent over here. Now, K-agent, right, the UI, has, let's say just for now, two different routes, right? It has /API/star, which has auth, right? And then it has, /login or whatever, right? Let's just for example, okay? And then what we're talking about is the user, right? As a part of our login flow, right? We will support different ones here, right? But we'll have some OAuth capable proxy, right? Something where essentially the traffic will always flow through our OAuth proxy, right? And this is where it gets a little bit like the proxy needs to have some explanation of how Cajun works, right? But you'll program this same thing here where these have auth and login will redirect. Right, sorry. Basically, and if no auth, right, then it will redirect to login. And so we have some component, right? It could be the OIDC proxy, it could be K-gateway, it could be literally any, it could be Nginx, it could be literally anything, right? Some OIDC capable proxy. And then we'll go from, right? This will get us a this, we don't even need this actually. We just have this. So this route, right? So /login will essentially call out to our OIDC provider, right? So this will be OIDC provider, and this will be, Dex, Keycloak, AWS, Google, GitHub, or whatever it is, right? This could be any number of things, right? So /login, right, will come down to our OIDC provider. And then the OIDC provider will get us, will then, right, this will call out to this. Oops, whoa, what happened? Go away. No, what happened? Which will then will return our token, right? So this then will come back. Oops. How does this work? This UI is confusing. Can I go from like here? Yeah. This goes to here. This we're going to move over. Cool. So this will have the token. This will be our callback, right? And then we will reach out with the token, right? And then, so that's the auth flow, right? Simple auth flow. And in this, right, in this model, the UI cage in itself has no thoughts about what the OIC callbacks are, anything like that, right? It's just a UI. And so, or it's just an API server, right? So now, when the cage UI receives a request with a token, right, then is where it starts to get interesting, right? Because basically what we can do is now we can have a, let's say, a KAgent UI, which is connected to our KAgent API, right? Now, and then our KAgent controller. Now, our KAgent controller, right, could be, let's say, and again, this doesn't have to break down like this, right? But our KAgent controller could be watching, right, for RBAC resources of some kind, right? So this thing will, read, it'll basically, the KAgent UI will pass through the token to the API, right, to our HTTP server. And that thing will make decisions about, right? That thing will basically make decisions, RBAC decisions, based on mappings that the user has created with somewhere in our system. And so in that world, right, basically, oh, sorry, go.
Yeah, just a comment here. I don't know how, like, if organizations, and it'd be great to get everybody's feedback here, manage their users in one system. They might want to handle these policies in that system as well. So I don't know, something like OPA, or I don't know the other providers that well. Or so maybe we should support something like external auth. I'm not sure. I kind of want to hear what people here
So
think about that.
what would that look, where, so that would go in like here in this chain? Or what are you thinking?
In the API server, instead of calling to KAgent controller, you call to OPA or to XAuth or whatnot.
Got it. Okay, so it would always call the API server at some point, but you're saying before that, like for the auth decision.
So there's auth N and auth Z, right? For the auth Z decision, it's done in the API server based on policy. The question is, who owns the policy?
Right. Yeah. No, yeah.
A lot of orgs will already have tools for that, and we want to reuse them.
Yep.
Ethan, I think I have an answer in my proposal for that, which is the one just down below, which is exactly what you're trying to.
Where? Oh, yes. Hold on.
The same dashboard. Okay, so this is a little bit more ambitious. I'm not sure if it's shooting the fly with a cannon, but if you look on the left hand side, you have the user ingress of choice. Obviously, they have their own providers, and they listed in those OAuth proxy, OpenShift, wherever it is, right? So that's the user decision what they use. Now, what we will do is that my suggestion is that we build an KAgent auth translator. So it doesn't matter which client authorization methods is using, we basically plug support for it. Then we translate that in KAgent auth translator, and then we have always a unified translated flows for KAgent. Do you know what I mean? So from our side, it always is the same flow. And what we only do is that we support pluggable modular insertion, so to speak. So if I will come with DEX, then, okay, here we go. Okay, because it's going from the DEX, we know what it does. We know we support it. But then that is this clear separation that whatever comes into the KAgent, whether it's web UI, MPC servers, application, is always translated, and it's always a known road, a known protocol or some sorts. Then within, let's assume the orange one in the back is just basically basic network policy that you apply across, and that's how you can have a basic security if you want to. If you don't want to, you put your mesh. If you want something else, you put something else. but just that we come with some sort of network policy around it. That was the idea I came up with, that we have our own translation mechanism, and then we just plug those. So from that, I don't know if it makes sense.
Got it. No, I think that's very. I think you're right. I think it's very similar to what I was saying. I guess I want to dive into. Yeah, I think. No, I think this is. I think we're speaking very much the same language. I think the question is just what. Now we have to dive into what this thing does, right?
It's a this thing does nothing. It's a concept. It's
yeah,
concept.
right. Yeah, it's a very nice black box. You know.
it's big.
Yeah. Verbose. Yeah, I don't know that one. Yeah, I definitely need to check into Kerbos. I don't know it. Yeah, I think there's definitely answers here. But I think okay. I think we're getting to the same page of we're not going to rely on K. We're definitely not going to do. So it sounds like we're in agreement that we're not going to have K agent do the routing, right? Like we're not going to do redirects within K agent, right? We're not going to do the OIDC flows within the K agent server code, right? We're all in agreement there. Okay, awesome. All right, so now, yeah, I think what we need to drill down on is basically what. Yeah, it's still complicated, right? We still need to drill down on what this thing is, and how exactly we want to do the pluggability and all these other things, because it definitely like. For example, do we want to handle like multiple forms of tokens, or do we want to say that like you need to give us a JOT and we map claims, right? Like, or how to for external auth systems, do we handle that at the level of the ingress, or do we handle that within K agent? But I think there's certain things we need to handle in K agent because I think, and this maybe we need to design the system of users like in K-Agent, right? We might need to decide how user management in K-Agent will work, right? What we all want. Maybe that is the first step, actually.
Yeah, that's the DB persistence box, right? So that's our side. This is our side,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's important not even users, but actually start from the groups of users.
Yeah,
because later on and later on when we have this callback from this authorization system, sometimes like in case of like keycloak, you may get like a JOT with groups and everything, right? Sometimes you may get only the email, right? And the question is like, okay, if it's a email and if it's like, I don't know, GitHub emails, how to differentiate between admin and not admin, right? So there must be a storage where we save information saying, okay, these 3 users are admins, others are not, as optional, maybe not necessary like by default. And just one more thing, which we started with the most complex scenario right now, right? And in the another slide which I updated, I also mentioned the simple one, the token-based login, and the login which is like just username password. And it's important to not forget about the token one, because we access our system in 2 ways. Either we have ingress and then we have this whole OIDC, right? Or we have the existing K-Agent CLI. K-Agent CLI already has Kubernetes access, right? And it's already capable of doing the port forwarding and opening UI as localhost, right? So instead of doing the OIDC in addition to support this localhost as a additional URL, right? Most likely we need some simple authorization via token or something, which is airbag based, okay, which will be done by the CLI flow. So I think if we will start with something simple like CLI flow, localhost tokens, service accounts maybe, and then then we can go to that complex one as well. And of course the groups and users where we store them. That's kind of the idea.
So sorry, go.
Just on this, Ethan, I totally agree with Dimitro. We need to approach it from the backside of the things, from our side, obviously. How do we want to manage groups and stuff like that? So even if we come up with some solution for now, we know that the RBAC might not scale, okay? But we're looking for that. We don't persistence somewhere, right? Let's use groups in the RBACs. Even if when we have that, we can look even the OAuth, because OAuth 2 proxy is a very simple representation of what this might become. How you have already integrated with, like, I don't know, GitHub or Google, wherever, so that problem is solved. And then you have authorization passed from the OAuth proxy, so you identify the user through the headers that is being forwarded to you by OAuth 2 proxy. Just look at those headers, see what we have there, and possibly we can have a user management just right now, even with that, which we can then kill as we want, as we will be going through more complex scenarios. But we do not need to then, at this point, engage in any tokenization whatsoever, because the proxy is just responding with the authorized user because it's the ODC has been handled.
Right, but that information will be in a token.
No, it's not gonna be in token. You do not pass the token in a backend. You never want that, right? So you never know about the token, and you should not know about the user tokens or wherever. What you want to know is that whether the proxy has authorized the user or not, and neatly, if there is any group that belongs to it. With the OAuth, there are not, right? It's just the user authorization. With more complex, like Google, you can have groups and users of groups, and then that's
so there's two different things. There's two different things, right? I don't necessarily agree that we don't want the token. You're right that if we get the token, we have to do authentication. So there's a question of where authentication happens. Where there's a question of where you authenticate the job, right? Because in the OIDC flow, right, you get the token from the back end, but you're not necessarily immediately, like, who actually validates that job, right?
Your proxy in this case.
Well, it's one option, right? If you don't want directly but the problem is if the proxy and the applicant, you then have to trust, if you're going to put it in a header, you need to trust the traffic between the two, between the proxy and the cage and UI, right? So there's or between the proxy and the backend. So there's a level of it gets the security.
There's no problem with that. Why would there be a problem with that?
No, there's no problem. Okay, so but I agree with. I see what Dimitro is saying. In addition, that we probably want a way.
You want additional. So you want the OIDC provider do its job, and between OIDC proxy and our backend, additional tokenization.
I don't know. I'm thinking because I agree with what you're saying, and I agree with Dimitro.
No, fine.
I mentioned several times actually the authorization as a strategy, and they could be different depending on your deployment type and so on. And I try to find the nearest or like kind of examples outside, where it's already solved, because this is problem which is solved 1,000 times, right? So, for example, from the ecosystem, if you look on Kiali as example, right, they have simple ones with a token based, and they have the OAuth with external OAuth, right? So in some cases, we may have even both of them configured in parallel. One will be used in CLI flow for token based. One will be just in the ingress flow with proxy and the DNS and everything. I don't know yet, okay? I'm just saying that if we take a couple of examples which already doing that, and we'll try to apply here and see, is it okay to apply it this way, or we are missing, we have different requirements, it's just maybe like that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, right? Because if we're doing token auth, right? If we're doing token based auth, then it means that the K agent in some way needs to be able to validate the job. Right? If we're if we're getting tokens in K agent, it needs to be able to validate the tokens. Which just means that we need to build that into. And by the way, that is not complicated logic, right? Like it's doing JWT authentication is very easy. But it's just a question of, do we want to do that in K agent? And maybe the answer is yes. So yeah,
Well,
I do think
we can always add this layer.
Right.
It's not a problem. What I think we could start off with is what I highly agree at the moment. Let's just start building the user management on our side.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we will see, how we want it on our side, and then how do we plug the rest of it? Because right now we could just skip the OIDC proxy versus us and adding JWT on top of it, just to see it faster and have some basic solution happening, and then we can build on top of that. There's never an issue.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
for example,
No, I agree.
if you would take like this callback, right, and let's say the K agent is implementing it, right? We currently do not have this implementation in controller, so we can technically like copy it from Kiali implementation very easily. And in addition, there is some implementation in the AutoGen UI, which is they have a very basic OS, some leftovers which they didn't develop properly yet, but it's it has some of it, right? So it's important also to what I think, Ethan, you mentioned before, like if controller will start to handle those requests, right, like callback requests, is it the right place? Are we okay with that and things like that? Because potentially controller will have this additional airbag, additional CRs, which it has access to, right? And UI, for example, doesn't have it. Our API server, which is LLM focused, it doesn't have any knowledge about Kubernetes.
Yep.
I think if we want controller to do this, then we probably need a auth controller, so we do not overload whatever we already have that is concern of spinning the agents, and that is doing its job. If we start adding another concern into that is not a good idea. If we want it, then it should be a separate controller that is dedicated for all stuff.
Yeah, but the
I mean,
point
it can always
is
be
actually
logically a separate controller, but yeah.
Logically, yeah, but the point is, look, the OAuth proxy typically is used in the places where you are not allowed or you cannot recompile or change your backend, right? It's like, for example, you have Grafana, Prometheus, or something, you want to OAuth on top of it, you will put OAuth proxy in front as and it's solved. Okay. Mm-hmm. In our case, we have more control. We can take and make additional callback API and things like that. It's just something that we have to agree on, okay? And I'm saying if we will follow a simple examples, let's bring a couple of different examples from industry where, like I said, Kiali is one of them, right? They have OAuth strategies for token, for callbacks, very easy to bring it here, right? We can bring more like Cerbos as a controller for policies and stuff like this. It's another good idea. If you can bring more examples similar to this and we can evaluate them and see, I think it's a good idea.
Absolutely, Dimitro. All for that. I've been looking on the decks, and I think it definitely deserves an attention. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I just wanted also to mention the Supabase as example, just for one reason. It's actually based on Postgres, and they have both like local version that you can run and kind of hosted. And they have all this user management, including OAuth and other stuff available. Even if we don't go and take it directly, it's a great resource to see how these problems already solved. So if you just look on supabase.com, they have user management, they have OAuth redirections, basically they have the user pool, which can actually automatically add users as in the table as long as they redirect it and stuff like this. And for one reason, because of like we have a public part of project, right, which everyone is taking, and it needs to be easy to set up and easy to manage, right? So if we introduce like users database, it has to be something that anyone will find. Tutorials will be easy to configure, and so on and so on. Okay, but in the same time, it should be compatible with more enterprise customers, right? And then we can just swap it with.
Definitely all up for enterprise. Eventuality. I'm in a regulated environment. I need that too. So all for that.
Oh my, this is complicated.
It's
I
not.
agree though that.
It only looks at because my mind is like that.
All right, Tyler, what's up?
I was gonna say that's like kind of one of those things that I've been thinking about a lot. Is the wait? Nope, never mind. Lost it.
What time is it there? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's early. The coffee hasn't kicked in, and I'm a little brain fried from how much I've been working on other projects over the weekend.
Okay, cool. So I think so I just created 593 to track user management. So let's discuss in there what we want to do for user management, and I'm gonna do. And I think that I agree with Dimitri that like having, we don't doing it all is a difficult prospect, but I do think that we do want to support simple use cases and enterprise. And so I think if we, like Marcin was saying, I totally agree. If we start from what we actually like, what the back end needs, right? Like what sort of information do we need, and what do we want to actually do with it, right? And then move that. And so we kind of have, and then we'll have this side, right? The OIDC proxy, and we'll have this side, what we actually want to do, and then we can start to build that black box picture. Cool. All right. Well, it is 12:50, so we're out of time. Let me see if there's anything else on the notes. Oh yeah. So just some shout outs. I didn't actually. Let me say also Tyler. So first of all, Dimitro on the work with moving the tools to Go. That monumental amount of work. Seriously, thank you so much, Marcin, for doing so much research and work on this auth stuff. Like seriously, like that auth demo is awesome, and I think it's really setting the stage for how we're thinking about this and the work going forward. And also Sebastian, who's not here, for getting really involved on reviews. That's been really helpful. He's caught quite a few stupid little things that I've done, so I really appreciate him for that. And also Tyler for your awesome work on those MCP servers. Don't worry, I caught you in the community showcase, so it's always cool seeing people doing full work in and around Cajun. So yeah, that's all I've got today. Any finishing thoughts from anyone?
Yeah, I'm also chasing the current RBAC.
Oh yeah. No, you're right. I think I commented on your GitHub. We should absolutely have a namespace mode. 100,000% I am on board. Like, irregardless, that's a good idea. 100,000%.
It is scary though. If you look at it, we immediately need to jump into this proposal from Sebastian, sadly not present today. Great work, man, because he already predicted and touched base on agent deployments and the agent permissions. Right.
Yeah. And we also need to remove any cross namespace secret references. That shit needs to go. Yeah.
Let me put it this way. I think we need both, and this is the same situation we have external secrets operator. If anybody heard about it, good. And if anybody is not using it, they should. There is a cluster scope and there is a namespace scope because it solves different problems. It's just that they both need to be supported, and that's it.
100%. Yeah, no, 100%. Sebastian, absolutely, he did. He actually, quick poll. Would everyone in this call be okay if I removed cross namespace secret references as a breaking change for this next release? I'll put it in an issue, but I'm wondering how people think. Like, for example, right now in a model config, you can reference a secret in another namespace. And I feel
I'm
like you should not be
totally-
able to do that.
I'm totally good with you making that not doable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just one more comment in general, and I think because Lynn is here, it will be also interesting to hear from her side. If we do some selection of tooling or like databases and other things, do we give any preferences to like CNCF existing projects? Like, is there any kind of policy on that, or?
I mean, I
That's
think. Oh, sorry.
That's a
Sorry,
great
no, Lynn,
question.
you answer.
I will weigh in with my thoughts. I do think a CNC project would be important. However, I do think project popularity probably has a good play here too. For instance, MCP, right? It's not a CNCF project yet, or it's not a Linux Foundation project. We still integrate with MCP server, and I think that's one of the best integration we ever had in K-Agent, because it's been talked so much in the community and our broader ecosystem. So I do think what's useful and what's hot is also important, not just CNCF umbrella, if that makes sense.
Okay, because in terms of like database management and this authorization, there are potentially a couple of options, which can be like, CNCF, basically the CNCF Postgres project, which is managing databases and so on. They have, because of also license, right? Because of general relation, if we select anything which we bring into the K-Agent as a dependency, it should have compatible licensing and compatible kind of, other things. And
yes, license. I definitely agree with you. It needs to be not give us more trouble, because in case one day we want to take K-Agent to the next step in CNCF, right? So we do want to make sure we meet all the
at
business
the end, we are
requirements.
building like cloud native agentic solutions. So probably some of other CNCF projects can be kind of connected easily. And
I agree.
I also
Yeah.
think there's
Go ahead.
awesome co-marketing opportunities with other CNCF projects to play up both the popularity of our project and the popularity of theirs. And that's usually easier to get to because there's already a relationship.
Totally, especially if you target for speaking opportunity for KubeCon or any of the Colo events for KubeCon, which I hope you all made your submission yesterday or before yesterday.
I've noticed that the dev stats page for CNCF dev stats, it has now the K-Agent, so you can find their nice dashboards.
Yeah, because now we are part of the CNCF project. So the CNCF staff actually build the page for us. The CNCF staff also give us, I think it's like a few dozen of to do for onboarding K-Agent as part of a CNCF. So we're working on that.
Yep.
All right. Awesome meeting as usual. No contributor meeting this week because it's bi-weekly. So we'll be in touch, and I will see you all next Tuesday.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh,